Revelations on Revelation.
So this book of Revelation is the book of the testimony of Jesus Christ. We have 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But none of these, even though it tells the story of Jesus, none of these 4 Gospels are considered the testimony of Jesus Christ himself. We understand from Robert Gundry, who is a theologian of renown, that the gospel was written not as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but he tells us that the first gospel that was written by Mark, and Mark was John Mark, who was a companion to Paul and Barnabas. And then after Mark wrote his first gospel, Matthew wrote his gospel. And Matthew, possibly borrowing from Mark, he took some of the things. It's not like today where we're talking about plagiarism. People would take one thing that someone said and they would build on what that person said. So Matthew possibly took more information from Mark and he wrote his second gospel. And then Luke, the physician. Luke, the physician, was a companion of Paul, and his purpose was to set in order the narrative of what happened. And so we have, these are called synoptic gospel because they are very similar, where you have Mark, then Matthew, then Luke, and then John looked at everything else that was written. And John said, okay, I am going to fill in the blanks for what everybody else didn't write. So that's important because John was a senior statesman. He was the final disciple who lived, and he is there on the Isle of Patmos. And John is writing, and John has an understanding of who Jesus is. In fact, John is a person who mentions some of the great I am statements of Jesus.
Join us next time for more revelations on Revelation. Subscribe and follow. You don't want to miss a moment.